Well, I'm not really wanting to go down the religious rabbit hole because you could get tied up in that quagmire for forever. But as I'd mentioned before, I grew up in a household that practiced dark magic. Basically, my mother was a member of the Golden Dawn back in the early 50s. I was born in the 50s. And probably leaned more towards the Thelema or OTO. I can't speak specifically for any of those groups that are still practicing. But so I grew up with a different version of reality compared to the standard Bible school reality.
Right.
And I'm not trying to judge, but in my background and growing up and the Asian connection I got into, yes, there is darker things that exist that are in play now that will absolutely take advantage of this situation to push their agenda.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people like me, and I'm not saying I'm specifically doing it, but there are people like me that will push that agenda because they want to see that result.
That's what I was going to ask you, because I was going to ask you, is that what you want to happen? Or and do you feel like you're fighting against this, or are you assisting it, or are you just kind of on the sidelines?
There are levels. I am an Omyoji. I'm not going to go into the whole story. What you would call a a witch, Japanese witch practitioner. Have been doing it. I was initiated in over 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. So I've been doing this around and I've watched things happen. The entities, I do things here that 99.9% of the people would absolutely consider to be demonic, evil, what have you, compared to the other religions.
Warning signs of satanic behavior may be apparent, such as a sudden, bitterly antagonistic attitude towards family and religion, a drastic decline in academic performance, a reclusive behavior pattern, and listening exclusively to heavy metal rock music, almost to the point of addiction. If one or more of these warning signs are evident, you should look further for ritual items such as a pentagram or other satanic symbols, black or red robes, a decorative dagger or knife, a chalice or goblet, black candles, a personal diary with a black cover, which is called a Book of Shadows, and copies of publications, such as the Satanic Bible and the Satanic Rituals, and possibly a small makeshift altar. If you discover items such as these, experts advise you contact your local law enforcement agency at once.
Hey guys, it's me, Doug, and I wanted to literally enter the abyss. So right now I'm sitting in a cave, probably about, I want to say at least 30 feet deep right now, and pretty dark, pretty spooky. I am completely surrounded by a ton of people keeping me safe, and I could not think of a better place to enter the abyss than the actual abyss. And so I decided to pick this spot with what I can see is with no snakes or spiders or anything like that. I found a nice cozy log. Doesn't smell the best down here, a lot of garbage. And yet here I am. I've been thinking a lot about this place for a while, and I came here with my father and my brother probably whenever I was about 10 years old. So it's been about close to 30 years since I've been in here. And I don't know why I chose this place. I think it's because whenever we came here, there were a lot more tunnels in here. So I think there's been a little bit of cave-in and a lot of safety precautions taken in so people can't crawl through the tunnels. But whenever I came here with my father, we found a bucket of red candles and a lot of satanic paraphernalia. And as you know, I consider myself a Christian or a Christian Buddhist, if you will, and believe in Jesus. And I remember whenever we found those candles, I was really disturbed and unsettled. And I thought about that a lot here lately. And I decided to go back into it because I feel like in order to face the abyss, you have to go into the dark. You kind of have to face your fears. And so here I am in a personal abyss. And I thought, who better to interview me than me? And it's not a cocky thing. It's not about being overly confident or stupid. Maybe a little bit stupid. But I just thought, I always have dealt with my own personal demons. I've always had a lot of mental health issues and anxiety. And and so I decided to go into a cave. Cave on my day off. And here I am talking about it. But yeah, there's been a lot of satanic activity where I live at. If you've heard the legends behind 5 caves, it's crazy because whenever you go down that road, sorry if I grab my flashlight, if I get a little bit spooked, I just want to make sure nothing's creeping up on me. Oh, and nothing is so far. But there's literally a pentagram painted on some mailboxes out there, spray paint. So I think that the culture is still strong here. If you know me by now, despite the fact that I'm a Christian, despite the fact that I practice Buddhism as best I can, I'm not the most namaste guy. I have met some people of that culture and of different pagan beliefs, and for the most part, they've all been very kind. Some of them not so much, but the same can be said on my side too. So here I am, trying to be a light in the dark and talk about the state of the world. And one thing that I've learned about the abyss and case file abyss is that genuine conversation is probably going to fix a lot of things. We're currently in a state right now across the world, not even just in this isolated area, where people just aren't getting along anymore. And they don't really want to hear anybody talk. They don't really want to subscribe to any kind of different ideology or broaden their horizons. And it's kind of across the board. You know, we've talked to people, and not to bring politics in this, on the left and the right, where the left blames the right and the right blames the left for how crazy things are. And I think it's because we've lost our ability to genuinely talk.
And so I was sitting there watching, and sometimes you want to go, just let them push the reset and let's see what's happening.
Gotcha.
But, you know, I look at what's happening. You've got the war that's not a war yet, but is a war. You've got all the stuff that's happened with the, and not to get too much of the Epstein stuff that's going on. And you go, wait a minute, if you're this, you're that. There are levels of everything. So if you say, do I want the world to burn? No. Is the world about to burn? It's a real possibility.
You turn on any form of media and it's always doom and gloom. And I always tell folks, you know, the best way to get away from that is not ignore it, but get out there and confront it. Don't be scared. Turn off the news. Turn off everything if you have to. And part of that news is looking at people and asking yourself, how can they be this way? How can they do these awful things? You know, I feel like I can freely say it because it's been documented as fact, but you look at the Epstein files, you look at the wars that we have going on, and we say, how can we do this to another human being? Well, the light in that dark is that for the majority of people is that we're good people. And we're just too scared to kind of say, hey, enough's enough. And that's what we have to do. We have to say enough is enough. If you meet somebody different than you, give them a hug. Give them a hug. You know, if they're not saying anything that's doing any harm to you or bothering you, and they're just a good person, you can see that they're a good person and that they're doing no harm to others, what's the worst that's going to happen about your life? It doesn't change your ideology. It doesn't change who you are.
So going to like the pastors and the preachers, how do you think they were viewed, like by their congregation?
For the most part, it was almost like that was a substitute for God. It's like God was using the pastor. God was like speaking through the pastor, almost kind of like, for lack of a better word, like possession, but like, not, devil, it was just
Using them as a vessel.
yeah. And but like, the preachers who like, do that and stuff, it's like they're just spouting off their opinion, and they expect their congregation to have the same opinion as them versus actually teaching what's in the Bible.
Yeah. The church that I grew up in, I actually have a lot of opinions about that particular pastor. And it was the way that the congregation treated him was that he was God. They didn't worship God, it seemed like, I'm just generalizing. I'm not saying this is what actually happened,
Right.
but it seemed that they were there for him and not for what they were supposed to be there for.
Was the biggest loser. Satan? No. God. God lost his man. God lost the woman he created with his own hands. God had given Adam absolute authority over this planet, and his own created son committed high treason and bowed his knee to the devil, and the devil took over.
Because on the almost 8 decades that I've been on this planet, you work with dark forces. You don't worship them. It's not that kind of thing. It's you respect them, you pay them homage, and they let you go. They don't pick on you, kind of thing. So everybody will go, "Oh, you've bonded with a demon," probably in many ways. But the thing is, humanity as a whole is at risk, and I can see things that are about to happen right now that are stepping up. And the people that are wanting to see it happen are pushing it. And from a practitioner part who deals with the other side in a ritualistic way, I have seen more like the waves getting bigger than I have seen in 50 years.
I recently went to a festival and I met and talked to a lot of people, and I don't know why I'm getting emotional talking about this, but they were seeking answers. And a lot of the times, I didn't have an answer, but I had an ear, and I could listen, and I could let them know that they were fine, that they were safe with me, safe with the Wendibros. And you've heard Rick talk, and you've heard Josh talk probably by now. And one of the things that Rick talked about at the festival was these people are looking for something. It's almost like they don't have a soul. And in a weird way, that breaks my heart. And it's frightening. It's frightening that we've lost our way so much. And that's why I probably picked a primitive spot, because in a way, we have to get back to our roots. And that root of it all is conversation. It's open dialogue. It's getting uncomfortable to learn how to be comfortable again. And that's where I'm at in my life right now.
Okay. So whenever you talk about that, do you think this is more a result of, is this a people condition that this stuff is happening? Is it symbolism, or is it something truly nefarious, malevolent, or supernatural?
Any and all.
Okay.
And not to be vague or distracting on any of that. The practice, what people are doing, there are people on both sides at the extreme that are trying to get their team to win, both the evil part and the good part, the good people. Mm-hmm. And you can call them whatever you want. They can both be in the same church, in the same pew.
And they would always talk so fondly about him. And then he would get up there, preach his own opinions, his own interpretation, and not saying it as an opinion, but as that was the word.
Right.
And then it seemed everybody knew everybody's business. They would come in, everybody was they were there to gossip, and to see that preacher. I mean, and it was even to the point where there was a lady, she had just gotten divorced, and she came in and the preacher saw her, locked onto her, and started saying, like, she's a Jezebel, she's a whore of Babylon. I mean, just absolutely berating her right in front of everybody until she got up and left and never came back.
Literally. Yeah. They could be in the same synagogue, in the same row, or they can be in the same country or the same whatever. There's this fraction, this separation. Now, I guess I can get this out quicker than anything. Is one, I've already said, I believe the Abrahamic religions is the worst thing that's ever happened to humanity. I do. And we can go into 100 reasons that is. And if anybody wants to debate it, I'm willing to do that. And, just be ready. Just be ready, because it's not going to be nice. But basically, with me, and we'll just call the one thing is, I come from an Asian, an Omyodo, and in Omyodo, I would like to clarify that I am not affiliated with the more traditional Japanese form of Omyodo with the Seme school, Abe no Seme. That is totally different from what I do. I have no affiliations with, connections to, I know some Seme practitioners, of course, but I do not practice what they practice. So when I speak of this, I'm not speaking for them. So before you guys and ladies start jumping up and down and go, this ain't what I do, I'm not your people. But when I'm practicing this stuff and I'm noticing, the first thing I can say that may start up a little bit of a kick is that I am what's considered, and I agree that I am Tamishin Nagai, and I'll try not to use too many Japanese words. I'm a person on this planet that really believes and knows that he does not have a soul. And you go, wait a minute. They makes you a demon automatically. Absolutely not. The easiest way I can explain this, and I'll do it quickly, because this could be a whole nother conversation.
Oh, no,
is that I'm part of the collective, part of the universe, as much as anybody else is. In other words, Asian cultures tend to believe this more than the non-Asian or the European version, the East-West, if you want to call it. But it's like a drop of water. If you hit the ocean and a drop of water comes up, for the time that the water is up in there, you're separated. And then when the water goes back down, you're part of the ocean again. So I do not have a soul. Now, I do believe, I've been taught that in strategy, and that may come up earlier, that if you don't physically take something, in other words, you cannot take something away from somebody to give it to them first, or they own it. You can't take it away because they don't have it. The Abrahamic religions is the first religion specifically to give a soul to every person. Now, a soul is like, you can take that away so you can be controlled. If you do this, your soul will be condemned. So they're just doing it to take it away. It doesn't really exist in that way. Now, there can be a sole purpose for you coming here.
And my mind gets so clouded, and it gets so tough, and I get so lonely, so to speak, that at times I find myself to be my best company. And it's not good to isolate yourself, as I say, deep in a cave, surrounded by garbage and whatever else. I'll have to take another shower today, that's for sure. And my friends and my wife are probably going to be mad at me that I went by myself, but here I am, in the abyss. And what the abyss means to me is this dark, oppressive atmosphere where we're all scared, and then we're a group of scared people now, but we're not on the same side whatsoever. And we have these varying different ideologies, and yet we have so much in common that we don't realize.
Yeah, and it was, I think, I could very well be wrong about this. I'm sure Doug will fact check me.
Yeah.
But I think that the Baptist religion has the most branches. Because you've got your Southern, you've got Primitive, you've got all of them.
Free will.
And it's all because they got mad at each other and went and formed their own church.
Yeah.
Which I personally believe that is where religion came from to begin with. You know, because everyone believes in something, and then they're like, well, I don't agree with this person, so I'm going to make my own church.
Yeah.
You know, they get their congregation, then someone doesn't believe that one. It's like, well, I'm going to go form this church. Next thing you know, you've got 50 different Baptist faiths that can't get together for anything.
I was told not to do this episode quite a few times, and that the reason why is that we may even paint a target on us by doing it. We may draw the negative attention. And in a way, I'm not scared of that. I think that if we continue to raise our frequencies, raise that positivity, raise those good vibes, then that's the reason why they're upset. It's because they're very negative. People aren't going to like what everybody says.
I've never really challenged a pastor. But that's just because, like, you know, I try to be respectful, even though I may not believe what they believe. I want, you know, just, you know, challenge them just because I want to.
Yeah.
Even though, like, you know, pastors or, like, you know, anybody who will go to church, like, you know, they'll ask you, oh, well, you know, if you die today, will you go to hell? Or, I mean, heaven? And, you know, stuff like that. So it's almost like they can judge and question you, but you can't them. So I just do it to, you know, just not really avoid conflict, just, like, you know, stay out of it. But, like, you know, I was also taught, you know, respect. But, you know, respect has to be earned. So if you're not going to respect me, then I'm not going to respect you. I mean, it's just, you know, that simple. But, like, you know, people don't understand that.
I actually do have a story. So there was a man, so it was the mother and the father. They had a son who, he was in jail for a long time. He was an alcoholic, and I think he was into drugs, but I'm not sure, but it was definitely like alcoholism, really bad. Well, he got clean, came to church with them, and his clothes were way too big for him, you know, but you could tell he cleaned up, he tried his best. He just didn't have the clothes for going to church, but he did his best. That particular pastor absolutely just ran him to the ground, saying, you're like, why are you here in my church? You know, you're an addict, you're this, you're that. You can't even look presentable enough to stand before God, all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so going to the challenging the authority, that man, he stood up and he's like, you know, who are you to say this. You know, like, I'm here to get forgiveness. You know, I've cleaned up my act. I'm really actively trying. And the preacher wound up kicking him out. And the worst part about it is that the mother and the father stayed. Like, they did not follow their son, and they kept coming back to that church, and we didn't see the son again. So it was kind of, he did challenge his authority, because at first, you know, he was like, well, I mean, I don't want to leave because I am trying to get right with God. You know, I want to believe, or, you know, I want to be saved. And the pastor is pretty much, you know, you're going to hell and I'm not going to help you get into heaven. So he got kicked out of the church, and I still wonder what happened to him.
I mean, that's like, you know, a lot of church signs I see around here. It says, everyone welcome, like, you know, service at such and such time. But I'm like, is everyone really welcome?
Now, this is darker, but well, not necessarily so. You could have a purpose. A soul purpose is a SOLE. Your sole purpose for coming to this world in this life is to teach something or to learn something. Does that make sense? That's the only reason you came. Everything else is just fluff. But your sole reason for coming to this existence, because there are thousands and many, is to experience this, teach that, or whatever. Some people can say it's karma. And your sole reason to come back, the sole reason you came back this time, because Earth sucked for you the last time, you did bad, or he's good, or what have you. So there are souls, but that's SOLE, not SOUL. Now, Bodhisattvas, you know, Buddha, Christ, all of the other really, really religious people that came here first, they're different, and they can still be different. So I've already said that I think the Abrahamic religions are the worst, and that I have no soul. So that's 2 stars. So
not pulling any punches.
We're in a constant state of 24/7 media, 24/7 negative news, negativity constantly across the board, and it's frightening. It's frightening that we treat that as doctrine in this world of indoctrination, where you could talk to somebody like me, or John, or Christy, or Rick, or Josh, and anybody else that we interview in this episode, and you could just find out that we're not so different, that we're all feeling the exact same way, and that there is literally a light at the end of the tunnel. I'm looking at it right now, because I don't want to go too far in. I don't know.